Good morning, everyone. Welcome once again to our sessions, our discussions, our discussion groups. As always, we have questions, and more questions from all of you. I have to say that this week we have been inundated with questions. We have far too many to be able to answer. So for those of you who are hoping, keeping your fingers crossed, that I'm going to answer your question. If I do not answer the question today, we have decided that we're going to, do not a repeat, but we're going to continue with the subject today and maybe even do another discussion at another time. The discussion today is about suicide. It's a difficult subject, difficult for anybody. If you are a person who has experienced someone you know or loved or cared about who has taken their own life, you will understand when I say that this is perhaps one of the most difficult situations because those of us who are left behind after this traumatic event, we're left with so much guilt and so many issues to deal with, and we're always left with the question of what if, what could I have done? Could I have made a difference? How could I have prevented this? And so on. So, all right. So I'm also, because this is a sensitive subject and because there are so many things, ideas and beliefs about what happens when someone takes their own life. Do they go to hell? Are they in purgatory? Do they wander the universe forever? And so on and so forth. Many religions do believe that yes, this is a sin against God, that suicide is a sin against God. There are many religious beliefs who will refuse to bury people who have taken their own life. They'll refuse to bury them in consecrated ground. So it is a tough subject that we're going to attempt to talk about a little bit today. So I think what we'll do is, as usual, I have my spirit guide, Grey Eagle, who is with me. I have my assistant, Carolyn, who is going to be giving us the questions. So again, if I start to look to that side there, that's where she's sitting. So I'll occasionally look there to pay attention to the questions that she's asking us. We do have another guest this morning. Some of you, those of you who are psychic, may be able to see him. For many of you, you will not be able to see him. I was not sure this morning whether or not we would have this visitor. His name is Eric. Eric is the son of good friends of mine. They have become good friends of mine because of the situation of coming to see me because their son Eric took his own life. As I'm saying this, as I'm talking to you, I had asked if Eric would come and talk to us and help us a little bit so that those of you who are suffering from the loss of someone who took their own life might be able to hear from Eric, his thoughts and feelings from the other side. I wasn't sure until just a moment ago as to whether or not he would join us, but Eric is with us and is tapping me on the shoulder. He's standing next to Grey Eagle, so I'm going to say welcome to Eric, who's just over here. So as we are talking and as I'm attempting to answer your questions from time to time, I will be asking Eric, does he have anything to say to us? And certainly at the end of this session, before we close the session, I'm going to give Eric a chance to perhaps tell us what it was like for him when he took his own life, and we'll see what he has to say to us. So let's, if we can, Carolyn, can we start with the first question, please?
Yes, Joyce from Sarasota. Is it true that if you take your own life, you are sent back right away to Earth to redo your contract? Or was that the real contract plan?
That's a good question. Joyce from Sarasota, thank you for your question. Is it true that we I'm listening to Eric actually as I'm talking to you. There's a big resounding no, it isn't true from Eric, and from my own experience of having spoken to many people who've taken their own life. No, it is not true. So I'm asking Eric, do you want to add to that at all? And he's having a little chuckle, and he says, no, just that is not how it works. So Joyce, maybe we'll ask Eric a little bit later as we proceed through all of this. Perhaps if you'd like to tell us maybe a little bit about how it does work. Although just having his presence here with us, Eric took his own life several years ago, and he's still around, and he's still communicating with him. And just in case his parents are watching, Eric wants to say hi to mum and dad. So we'll do that. So he wants to say hi to them. So there is a resounding no, and maybe we'll talk a little bit more on that topic, Joyce, in a few minutes. Can we have the next question, please?
Patricia from Vancouver, British Columbia, lost her son 3 years ago to suicide at 17. How does a parent stop worrying after the death of a child? And how does one embrace life again, since the light has gone out in me and other parents who have gone through this?
Patricia?
Yeah.
Patricia. Hi, Patricia. Thank you for writing into us. First, let me say how very sorry I am for your loss. This is interesting. I didn't expect this to happen. I can't say for certain that I have your son here, Patricia, but Eric has just brought to my attention another young man who is standing right here to my side here. And I feel from what Eric is saying to me that this is possibly your son, who I have to tell you looks very well, and he's smiling. All right. What was the question again? That just took me by surprise there. Just now I have two young men here who took their own lives, and both of them are, let me point out, well, and I'm not sure happy yet, but certainly well. What was the question?
How does a parent stop worrying?
How does a parent stop worrying?
And embrace life?
Okay, got you, thank you. You don't, darling. Patricia, you'll never stop worrying. How do you stop worrying about your children wherever they are, in this world or in the next world? We don't, as parents, if we are good parents and loving parents, we don't stop worrying. Having said that, maybe this might ease you a little bit. I do have a young man who is standing to my left side here, along with Eric, who is standing to my right side. And this could get crowded today. We could maybe get a few people here. And I do feel that I need to say to you, Patricia, that this young man, who I believe is your son, is very well and happy. And I'm hearing him say busy, and he's busy. I don't think that's going to help you too much, but it might ease you a little bit. How do you find the light again? This is tough. I don't know how parents who have lost their children deal with this kind of a loss, because it's very traumatic. And I know there's a lot of guilt left behind, and I know there's there are a lot of issues. I don't think, just to point this out to you, Patricia, that you could have done anything differently than you did. I'm hearing this young man calling out, I love you, over and over. You find the light, I think, little bit by little, inch by little inch, in understanding that even through suicide, we don't die. Your son is not in purgatory. He's not wandering around not knowing where to go. When people take their own lives, they do so for many reasons. With Eric, I'm talking about Eric now a little bit. Eric was on certain medications, and those medications made him extremely depressed. And this is, this compounded his issue of depression, which led to him taking his own life. when someone takes their own life, 90% of the time, they are not thinking clearly. They are not, let's say, in their right mind. This is not something that they do against God. This is not something that they do against us. They do this because they're desperate. They're not thinking clearly. And when they pass into the spirit world, their angels are there for them, with them, helping them to cross that void which separates our two worlds. And they are there to help and guide and steer because when these people do take their own life, doesn't solve the problem, doesn't solve the issue. They still have the problem of why they felt desperate enough to do this. And they have many helpers, many healers in the spirit world who help them to heal and help them to come to terms with who they are and to help them to come to terms with how they can become brighter, better, stronger as souls. So please keep that in mind. Someone who takes their own life it's not an evil thing. It is very often an unselfish thing. More often it is something that we do when we're not thinking clearly, when we're not in our own mind, and we get help. We are not turned away from God. We are taken into the light, and like everyone else, we are helped to heal. I hope that brings you a little light, Patricia. Next question.
Cecilia asks, is it really the worst thing in the world if the person suffering chooses to end their life? And was it meant to be anyway?
Cecilia, hi Cecilia. We don't know where you're from, but anyway, we're glad that you're watching. And thank you for your question. I believe that no matter how we pass, I believe that there is a time for us to die, and we cannot die before that time. So those people who try to take their own life and fail, they fail because it simply was not their time. When someone is sick, ravaged, in pain, I don't want to cause huge controversy here. However, I might, because I believe that if you are suffering and in great pain, and you absolutely know that you're not going to get better, and in fact it's going to get worse, again, I believe that we all have choices, and I don't see why someone should not choose if it works for them, if it feels right for them. I don't see why that they shouldn't just be helped to go to sleep. We do it with our animals. We are the first to say, the British, I mean, because we are like, the world's renowned nation of animal lovers. I know that every nation has their animal lovers. I'm not saying we the British are the only ones, but we are renowned for our, some would call it stupidity, some would call it loving, and so on. We are renowned for our care of our animals, and the last thing that we want to see is an animal suffering and in pain. And as much as it hurts us and pains us, and I've had to do it too many times myself, we go to the vet and we ask, please, can you do this humanely and peacefully? Why we treat our animals with this gentleness and this loving care, and we are loath to do it with ourselves or with other human beings, I'm not sure. I believe that when it is our time to go, if we choose to go this way, that's what will happen. But I think it was all in God's plan. So the question was,
is it really the worst thing in the world?
Is it the worst thing in the world? No, I don't think it is. And I think in many cases it's the best thing in the world, and it's the best decision in the world. As a healer, I've seen many, many, many people suffering, and in some regards unnecessarily so. And if I were in that position, I might be the first person to say, let me help you to pass in a peaceful and an easy and a gentle way. knowing that God and our angels are going to be there to catch us when it's our time. Let's have our next question.
Next question is from Rebecca from England. She lost her son when he was 33 on his 5th suicide attempt. How can I know if my son is in a better place, and is there anything he wants to tell us?
Well, now this is an interesting morning because as we've been answering these questions, my room has begun to fill a little. And I'm sorry, what is this lady's name?
Rebecca.
Rebecca. I don't know if your son is here, but I know that as much interest as we have had from everyone with our questions, because as I say, we've been inundated. I have a room full of people here, many of whom have taken their own life. And when I say a room full of people, I'm talking a room full of people who have come from the spirit world to participate in this discussion. And maybe your son is one of those. It is interesting because obviously your son was absolutely determined, and it may well be that he felt, or his soul knew, that this is what he should do, that it was his time to go. And I've experienced that many times. The question was, was it something about
how can I know if my son is in a better place?
How can you know if he's in a better place? This is where belief comes in. I feel I'm surrounded here. I've got Eric. I've got a young man here. I'm looking at somebody else. We're surrounded. The room is surrounded. Carolyn's trying to peer through that thing that separates us to see who she can see. And maybe you can feel, I don't know if you can feel the room as the atmosphere has changed in the room, but it's a lot of fun for me. And I can tell you absolutely my belief, and from what I'm seeing, I know that he's in a better place. Nobody can tell you 100% sure. I mean, it's about belief. But I can tell you from my point of view, and having spoken to many, many, many people who have taken their own life, many, far too many than I can count. I've spoken to many, and without a doubt, it is almost every time when I first communicate with someone who's taken their own life, I can feel the struggle within them and the emotional struggle to come through, to talk, to tell me how they passed, to tell me what they did, because it's a very emotional thing. And often I'm sitting with the parents or the family or the husbands or wives of these people. And so it's a very emotional communication. But without a doubt, once that emotion has been dealt with, once we get over that, and these people talk to me about their experiences, then I can tell you that they have a lot of help and a lot of guidance and a lot of love that comes to them from those in the spirit world who have been waiting to carry them over. And as I'm saying this, Eric is putting little pressure on me. So Eric would like to come in here as well. And what Eric is saying is, I need to get this just right. What Eric is saying to us is that there are a lot of tears that are cried. Once we arrive, he puts it that way, once we arrive, he's laughing at me. We would say once they arrive at the pearly gates. So once they arrive and they're standing in the light, there are a lot of tears, there's a lot of nervousness. And he tells me to tell you that we are embraced. Your son was embraced by the light, by his angels. Eric says by our angels. We are embraced and we are lifted and we are taken to a place of peace and quiet and harmony where we can learn to accept who we are and what we're feeling. And he doesn't know you as far as I'm aware. Who is it we're talking to, this lady?
This is Rebecca.
Rebecca. He doesn't know you as far as I'm aware, but he's sending you kisses. And I have to tell you that so many that I have here are all waving. They have their own, they're saying we're with our angels, we're standing in the light. So we've got a lot of responses from the spirit world this morning as well. So Rebecca, I hope that helps you a little bit. Next question.
Pat from Virginia asks, what happens to a person's soul when they commit suicide?
Well, again, Eric is, this is Eric for Eric. So we're talking to a young man, Eric, who took his own life. And so he heard the question loud and clear. I'm asking it again just to make sure. What happens, Eric, to a person's soul once when they take their own life? And he tells me to tell you all, it depends. It depends on the person. It depends on that person, because even when we have, he says, even when we are here in the spirit world, even when we're here, we continue to have choices. So we can step into the light. We can want to be healed. We can embrace the light, at which point, and he says, as I did, and at which point we grow, our soul grows, we learn, we grow, we discover, just as anyone else does, just the same way that all souls have the opportunity to do. Or we can choose to turn our back to the light. Not all souls who come here, he says, not all souls who come here are those who want to stand in the light. But the majority of us are souls of light, are beings of the light. And as the light embraces us, this is his response, as the light embraces us, so we have the opportunity and the choice and the desire, he says, and the desire to embrace the light in which we learn and grow. Right, interesting. Next question, please.
Diane asks, I had a niece and a nephew pass on through suicide recently. We are Native Canadian Cree. We have been helping ourselves heal through holding memorials every year. I believe that ceremony helps them as well. Do you agree? And this is a very important subject to talk about because it's happening
in
other Native communities all over the world.
And the lady's name is?
Her name is Diane.
Diane. Hello, Diane, and thank you for your question. And you're absolutely right. The Native American communities across the world, they do have issues with alcoholism, drugs, depression, and it does seem to be more prevalent in the Native American community. I have been very privileged to have been invited into some of these communities where I've also been privileged to talk to the parents and the families of those who have taken their own life. So I know exactly what you're talking about. Does a ceremony help? Of course, but so does the celebrating of a person's birthday. So does the celebrating of an anniversary. Even celebrating the anniversary of a person's passing, a person's death. It just lets our loved ones in the spirit world know that we are thinking of them, that we care about them, we're thinking of them. They're still a part of our lives and a part of our family. Eric is tapping me on the shoulder again, and he's reminding me to tell you, yes, you know, prayer, your prayers from you all to us all is what he's saying. Your prayers, this is what Eric says. We catch your prayers and your thoughts like butterflies. We catch them, we hold them, and they make us feel special. So sending prayers, giving a ceremony, doing all of those things. Absolutely. You know, if you, and not just with people who've taken their own life, remember, when a person passes, however it is they pass, it's always good on their birthday to make them a birthday cake and have a little celebration just to let them know that you've remembered them. It makes them feel great. And they're also, you know, drawn to us and drawn to participating in that celebration. Diane, when you have your ceremonies, I'm sure that you know this. You probably don't need for me to say this to you, but I feel I should explain to those who know less about this than perhaps you do. When we have these celebrations, when we have these memorials, we might have a crowd of, I don't know, 10, 20, 50, 100, 1,000 people turn up at that memorial that we can see on this earth. But trust me, when I tell you that there are at least as many, if not twice as many, in the spirit world also joining in those ceremonies, those birthday celebrations and so on. So please keep doing it, because I do believe that it's very, very helpful. But also, please, for all of you out there who've suffered with these losses, and Diane, I'm sorry for your loss, your niece and nephew, I believe you said you lost. It is a dreadfully traumatic way to lose someone. You know, these are the times when we ask God, why? You know, why did you let this happen? Why did you do this? We tend to want to lay the blame, and often, especially when someone takes their own life, we lay the blame on our own doorstep. If we'd have done better, we'd have only listened. If we'd have been there, if. But if you can try to remember, all of you, that we cannot die before our time. So however someone passes, it is, I believe, written that we should go in that moment, in that time. And that no matter how we pass, we are always embraced by our angels, and we are always embraced by the light. None of us is left to flounder. None of us is left in pain unless we turn from the light. None of us is left to be by ourselves unless we refuse the light. And the room is filling up, I have to tell you, and everyone who is here, who is participating, everyone from the spirit world who is participating in this conversation is a person who, a soul who did embrace the light and is here to tell you that there is a rejoicing in the spirit world when someone returns home to God. There is a rejoicing, no matter how difficult their passing was. Do we have a next question?
Elizabeth asks, would my twin brother have lived a longer life if he had not taken it himself at 36?
Hello, Elizabeth. I'm so sorry that you had to suffer the loss of your brother. Would he have lived a longer life? That's the same question as, was this meant to be? Was it his time? And I do believe that it was his time. So whether he passed due to taking his own life, whether he had an accident, whether he had a heart attack, whatever it was ordained, preordained, that he would pass on this day and this time. I'm not sure in this particular case. We would have to have a one-on-one session for me to talk to your brother to be able to find out the answer to whether or not it was preordained that he should take his own life, or that he should go in the particular fashion that he went in, because you know, sometimes it is preordained and sometimes it is not. Sometimes we choose our own way and our own path. Very often people who take their own lives, they are people who have already predetermined how they're going to do this prior to their coming here. I know that might seem a horrific thing to say to some of you, but it might also be helpful to know that prior to our coming to this earth plane and for us having this earth experience, we often do decide in what way we want to end our life here on this earth plane as well. So I hope that helps you a little bit. Next question.
We've got, I believe it's Liana or Elena, I'm not sure, from Italy, who says, my brother and father took their lives years ago. I would like to hear from them, and are they together?
Normally I wouldn't answer this question, because normally I would say to you, darling, you're not sure how to pronounce your name. Eliana? Okay, I'm going to call you Eliana. Normally I would say, well, in order to know the things that you want to know, we would have to have a private conversation. But unusual as this session is becoming, and I've already said we have lots of people in here sitting in my room with me, I do see a man just in front of me raising his hand. I don't know who he is. He may be your father, he may be your brother, I don't know. I know that he would like to answer your question. Can you give me the question again, please?
My brother and father took their lives years ago. I would like to hear from them, and are they together?
Okay, so I'm not saying that this is your brother. What I can tell you is what I see. What I see is a man who, as we were reading your question, put his hand in the air. Now he does not have his hand in the air. My attention is on him completely. And as I'm watching him, he has put his arm around a younger man. I'm always loath to say this is obviously your father and your brother and they're telling you they're together. I don't know. I'm not going to say that. I've no idea. I've no clue. And we don't have time today for me to dig into this and to have them particularly answering these questions. This takes time. I'm asking Eric what he thinks, because I know Eric and I've spoken to Eric on many occasions. As I said, I know his parents and we've become good friends since the first time they came to see me to see if I could make contact with their son. So I'm asking Eric, what does Eric feel about this? Does he think that your father and your brother are together? And he's telling me without a doubt. So I hope you can take that and rest a little easier knowing that. I know, I can tell you from my own experience, that when family members pass, when we go into the light, we leave this earth, there are many, many people waiting for us, and our family, our loved ones, our friends are there waiting for us, those who have gone before us, waiting for us, welcoming us with open arms. So I think it's a pretty safe bet to say, Liana, that your father and your brother are definitely together and watching you and watching over you. Don't forget to say a prayer for them tonight. Next question.
It's time for the personal question.
Oh, goodness me. This session's gone so fast. All right. What is the personal question?
How do you, as a person, handle the trauma of connecting with someone who has committed suicide? It's kind of a two-part question. And have you yourself ever considered suicide as an option?
That's a really personal question. Ooh, I don't know. Let me think. Well, the answer to the second part of the question, have I ever considered suicide, is yes, I have. I don't think I'm unusual in that. I think that many people have considered, when life gets them to a point where they don't feel they can handle anything else anymore, they get to a point where they consider maybe they'd be better off dead. I think that's how we would put it. Many years ago, I was going through a very tough time, and it turned out that it was all hormonal. This is very personal, so I'm sort of settling myself a bit here. But I was at that point of sort of going through those hormonal things that we women have to go through when we go through the change in life. And I had, because I was very young at the time, nobody suspected that that's what it was, because I was far too young to be going through this. And I got into a very deep depression. I ended up actually having a little mini nervous breakdown. You know, I know that so many of you are relating to this, because, you know, it happens to all of us, whether we're going through the hormonal stuff or not. We can get to a point where we feel we can't go on any longer. I can remember sort of doing the housework. I can remember specifically vacuuming the carpets, and in my head writing a letter to my daughter as to why I should have done such a thing. And I think the thing that stopped me was I couldn't think of any good reason to write in the letter why I should do it. My daughter would not have found any reason a good reason. A million reasons don't make for one good excuse. But I think it was just, you know, when I say that I considered it, I think I considered it, you know, it seemed serious to me at the time. I was going through a very great depression and so on and so forth. But luckily, my daughter, having my daughter and being an only parent and knowing that if I left her, she'd have no one at all, I think those things were the things that sort of pulled me out of that situation. But I think it's easy when people go on medications, they go on all kinds of things that make the depression worse, or they're supposed to cure one thing, but they do cure one thing, but they create another issue. I think that those are the times when so many of us do consider this, but fortunately we have the ability to pull ourselves out of it and so on. What was the second, moving on now, what was the first part of that question?
How do you as a person handle the trauma of connecting with someone who has committed suicide?
Well, as a spiritual medium and healer, I have people come to me all the time who have taken their own life. I'm going to tell you a little story about a man who came to me. Well, let's put it this way. His wife came to me for a consultation. And I knew from the second she walked into my room, my little sitting room, I knew from the second she walked in that this was a very traumatic session that we were going to be having. And I knew that first from her demeanor, because she was extraordinarily sad. But I also knew because as she walked in, her husband walked in behind her, and he was the one who'd taken his own life. This was the first time I'd met someone who'd taken their own life, who'd done it with reasoning, in their right mind, thinking things through, and doing this for totally unselfish reasons. This man was paralyzed. He'd developed a cyst which had gone into his spine, and this couple had 3 healthy sons. He'd been a very healthy guy. All of a sudden this cyst developed, got caught in his spine, and it was too dangerous. The doctors considered it too dangerous to remove it. So he was somewhere in his late 40s or early 50s. He was now completely bedridden, crippled. He was a big guy. His wife lifted him. She fed him. She nursed him. They loved each other. They had a very good relationship, and she did everything she could for him. Once a week, he would go out on a drive. They had the car made so that he could sit in the car and drive the car. And so once a week, he would go on his little outing by himself. It was the only time he had out by himself. And they planned the route so that if for any reason the car broke down, somebody would know where to fetch him. And this particular day, he had it all planned out. His wife strapped him into got him ready, strapped him into his gear so that he could sit in the car. And he said to her, he pretended he'd forgotten something from his bedroom. So while she went to get it, he took a small knife out of the kitchen drawer and he hid it up his sleeve. She came back, she took him out in his wheelchair, helped him into the car. And it was only in retrospect that she realized that he was saying goodbye to her. And she strapped him in. He was very careful not to let her have any indication that anything was wrong. But in retrospect, she realized that he held onto her hand just a little longer than he would normally have done. And he told her he loved her, and off he went. And an hour later, when he wasn't back, they sent out a search party. This man had managed to crawl out of his car because he knew if he did the deed in the car, his wife would never use the car again. There'd be too much blood and so on. So he crawled out of the car, managed to crawl to the back of the car, sat at the back of the car, and he cut his main carotid artery. He did it totally and absolutely knowing what he was doing because he wanted to give his wife freedom. What he didn't understand, but what he learned having done this, and what he had to live with and come to terms with having done this, was that his wife wanted him there under any circumstances. She wanted them to grow old together under any circumstances. She did not want to be free of him. So when they came to see me, her here on this earth, he in the spirit world, it was a very sad and a very traumatic event, but they managed to get everything said that they needed to be said. And then she came for healing for several months after that, and finally managed to sort of start the grieving process and to work through the grieving process. There are many, many reasons why people take their own lives. Some people take their own lives in temper, believe it or not. I'll show you. How dumb is that? And some people take their own lives, most people take their own lives because they are emotionally so traumatized. And when I deal with these people, as I did with Eric, the first time I spoke with Eric and the first time I spoke with Eric's parents, Andrea and Jeff, who, by the way, gave their permission for me to do this today and to talk to Eric today. When they gave me that permission, when I first spoke to them, it was difficult. I get just as emotional as anybody else in this situation, but I have a job to do. It's not my job to sit and cry. It's my job to try to help those in the spirit world to have a voice, to give an explanation if they want to do whatever it is that they want to do. Before we close this session today, because believe it or not, we're running out of time. I don't know how it happened, but we're running out of time. But I would like to ask Eric, I'm sure many of you would like to hear from Eric. I would like to ask Eric, does he have anything to say to us? Maybe he could tell us of his experience when he passed and what happened to him when he passed. So he wants to explain, first of all, I'm listening to him and he's telling me, I know these things, but he's wanting for you all to know this. So his passing was very sudden and very quick. He had suffered with depression for a great deal of his teenage years, and had finally been put on this medication, which actually the doctors discovered, now it's one of those, if you have suicidal tendencies, do not take this medication. So he's explaining all of that. When he's describing to me that when he took his own life, at that moment of preparing and getting ready and then actually doing the deed, he wasn't thinking. He wasn't thinking about his parents or his brother. He wasn't thinking about his family. He wasn't thinking about the effect on anyone else. He was just within himself, buried within himself, with this terrible feeling of desperation. In the moment of impact, he is describing being lifted, and he mentions his angels. And he's describing it as if and it's different for everyone, but he's talking about how he was tugged, almost tugged or pulled out of his physical body, and began moving. And again, he's clarifying with his angels. I'm asking him, was there any judgment, good or positive? Did he feel, Eric, did you feel there was any judgment, anyone judging you for your action? Immediately, no. And he tells me to tell you all, there is no judgment. This, remember, is from a young man who took his own life. There is no judgment, only help and guidance and healing. No one is saying, you know, that you did this wrong or that wrong. So initially there is light, there is help, there is guidance, there are our angels. Then he says, then comes the judgment, but it's us judging ourselves. And the worst part, he tells me, is when you've done this and you look to see the devastation that you've caused your family. And that is when the judgment sets in, judging how you did what you did, and judging your actions, and in leaving your family in devastation. And that is when you begin to wonder, could you have done this differently? Could you have done it better? So that's where the judgment comes in, as judging ourselves. The hardest part for him, and he's saying for many here, and remember the room is filled with people here, for many, the hardest part for many who take their own lives is to have to see, because as Eric points out, we're still part of the family, to see and to experience the devastation that our families go through, the pain and the hurt and the anguish, the guilt and the torment that those of us who are left behind will put ourselves through, because we've had to experience this. Eric also would like to leave us with this too. And he says, and it sounds so simple, but it's so true, just remember that love conquers all. And again, I love you, Mum and Dad. So Andrea and Jeff, if you're watching this, he loves you very much. We are going to have a part 2 on this subject, because it is a huge subject. Maybe not next time, but at some point. So please keep sending your questions in. We love to have them. Thank you all so much for watching. You can find us on YouTube. Now, we did mention last week we are going to have some little sort of special contests and things. We don't have no idea yet quite what we're going to do. You're only eligible if you subscribe to YouTube. Please subscribe to YouTube. We love to see you there. We love to see all those clicks that tell us that you're watching us. If you want to know more about us, you can email us at rosemary@rosemaryaltea.com. You can go to our website, www.rosemaryaltea.com. You can see my books, my CDs, my meditation CDs, all of those things you can find on my website. We have a store there as well. So if you want to buy anything from us, that's where you should get it. www.rosemaryaltea.com. You can find us there. Again, we are on Meetup, and we are on Twitter, we are on Facebook, and where else are we? We're all over the place. We are all over the place. Did I miss anything?
No.
Did I forget anything?
Just remind everybody about your September event in Sarasota.
And yes, and in September this year, which is September 2016, I'm going to be in Sarasota. I'm going to be doing a workshop in the morning. I'm going to be teaching people or showing people how to become more sensitive, more aware of the spirit world, more sensitive and more aware of their own soul and their own sensitivity. So that should be fun. That's in the morning. And then in the afternoon, we're going to be, hopefully we'll have as big a gathering as we have today. I'm going to be asking people in the spirit world to be gathering with us so that we can talk about life after death and be giving messages to people in the audience. So if you again want to know any more about any of that, please contact us, Rosemary at rosemaryaltea.com. Keep sending in your questions. We love you very much. I get so many people saying we love you, love you, love you, Rosemary, and I love you, love you, love you all back. I just would like to, just because I just felt it then, I'd like to blow kisses to my darling boy. My darling boy is my grandson, Reese. And of course, then I have to blow kisses to my darling girl, Samantha. Blowing kisses to all of you, my darling audience. Thank you very much. And please join us again next time around next week. Do we know what the subject's going to be?
Not as of yet.
We don't know what the subject's going to be, so keep checking in. Thank you for joining us.